In this lesson, we're going to take a look at how to draw with one-point perspective and how you can create the illusion of space on a two-dimensional surface. Let's get started. The first step is to define the horizon line. Now, theoretically, the horizon line is the line that divides the sky from the ground, but it also can refer to the vantage point of the viewer. For this demonstration, we'll place the horizon line right in the middle of the picture plane. Next, we'll place a vanishing point on the horizon line. The vanishing point must be placed on the horizon line. Now, since we're using one-point perspective, we'll start by drawing the shape of the object. Since we're going to draw a few cubes to begin with, the shape would be a square. Now we'll draw 4 lines from each of the corners of that square to the vanishing point. Notice how these lines recede as they go backwards into space. Once we've got our 4 lines defined, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to draw another square. The corners of this square will line up with each of the lines that we drew back to the horizon line. So essentially it'll create a smaller square. Now we can erase the lines that we no longer need to reveal our three-dimensional cube in space. Now, we drew this cube on the horizon line. Let's draw one below the horizon line and see how this might be slightly different. Here again, we'll start with the shape. The two-dimensional shape would be a square. Then we'll draw lines from all 4 corners of that square backwards to the vanishing point. This is one-point perspective, so we'll use this 1 point for all of the forms that we draw in the picture plane. Now, here again, we'll draw a smaller square. Remember, the corners of this smaller square should line up with the lines that we drew going backwards in space to the vanishing point. Now our three-dimensional cube is there. All we need to do is erase the lines that we no longer need. Alright, now let's draw a third cube, but this time we'll place it above the horizon line. Here again, we'll start with the shape, which will be a square. Now, again, we'll draw lines from all 4 corners to the vanishing point. And here again, the next step is to draw a smaller square. Just allow the corners of that smaller square to line up with the lines of perspective that we drew, receding backwards in space to the vanishing point. And there's our cube. All we need to do now is erase the lines that we no longer need. Now, let's look at a practical application for using one-point perspective. We'll draw a small little city here. Again, we'll start with the horizon line and we'll place the vanishing point on the horizon line. Notice that the vanishing point doesn't have to be placed right in the center of the horizon line. In fact, the vanishing point could be off the paper completely. It just has to be on the horizon line. Here again, we'll start with the basic shape. Since we're going to draw a building, we'll start with a square. Then we'll draw lines from all 4 corners of that square to the vanishing point. Now, if drawing that smaller square has got you stumped, here's another way you can think about it. If you start with the corner of your original square and just move backwards down those lines of perspective, it'll give you an idea of where that smaller square needs to be. You're basically defining the length of your building here. So you can go back as far as you want into space, making the building longer if you prefer. And then we'll draw that smaller square. Remember, that smaller square needs to line up at each corner with the lines of perspective that we drew going back to the vanishing point. Alright, now we've got the basic form of our building. We'll just erase the lines that we no longer need. Let's go ahead and put one on the other side. Again, we'll start with a square, then lines going backwards in space to the vanishing point from each one of the corners. Then the smaller square with the corners touching the lines of perspective, and then there's our form. We can erase the lines that we no longer need. Alright, let's make this look more like a building by adding some windows. We'll start by drawing 2 horizontal lines to encase the overall height of the windows that we're going to add on the side. Now we'll draw vertical lines to indicate where each window ends. Now, this building is going to be relatively simple just to demonstrate the technique of one-point perspective, but of course you're free to embellish the image as much as you like. Just remember, if the lines go horizontal in space, then they should recede back to the vanishing point. If they're vertical lines, then you just simply draw vertical lines. To make these look a little more window-like, we'll add just a bit of shading there. Now let's add some windows on the side of the building. Here again, since these lines are going to go horizontal, we need to draw them backwards in space to the vanishing point. Alright, now we're going to draw vertical lines here to indicate where each window ends. Remember, these should be vertical lines. The tendency of some people is to draw lines at a perpendicular angle. They need to go vertical, so don't let those lines of perspective that you drew throw you off. Alright, let's add some value here to make these look a bit more like windows. Next, we'll add a door to the building. We'll draw 2 vertical lines. Then we'll add a horizontal line to make the building feel a bit thicker, and then a vertical line. Now for the bottom of the opening, we'll go backwards in space towards the vanishing point. Alright, we'll add a bit of shading there inside of the door and maybe a little bit of detail to make it feel a bit more realistic. Alright, so we've got a building and the form of another possible building in place. Let's add a road to get to these buildings. And we're just going to draw 2 lines back to the only vanishing point here. And we'll also add a curb to the line on the right side of the vanishing point since it'll be visible from the vantage point of the viewer. We'll also go ahead and add a sidewalk here with just another line that goes back to the vanishing point. We can also add some cracks in the sidewalk by just drawing horizontal lines that progressively get closer to each other as it goes back in space. Now let's add a line of trees. So we'll draw 2 lines back to the vanishing point. The top line will indicate the top of the trees, and then the bottom line will indicate where the trunk goes into the ground. Then we'll just quickly draw some textural marks to indicate the illusion of leaves, and we'll add a couple trunks. Now, we've drawn the sidewalk that goes all the way back into space, and we're also making an assumption that these are the same type of tree and they were all planted on the same day, equal distant from each other. Seldom will that ever happen in reality. But it does illustrate how one-point perspective can be used to create the illusion of space on a flat surface. We'll add a bit of shadow here just to define a light source. Let's next add a fence on the left side of the vanishing point, and again we'll draw 2 lines that extend back to the vanishing point. Then we'll just draw vertical lines for each fence post. And of course these lines are going to progressively get closer together as they extend towards the vanishing point. Now you can make your fence any way that you want, but I'm going to go ahead and make this a chain link fence. So we'll just put some cross hatching in between each one of the posts to create that illusion. And to make the background feel a little less flat, we'll just put a simple little mountain range way off in the distance here with just a couple of simple lines, and then we'll add just a bit of shading there. Now, one thing we left out on the road was that broken line that goes right down the middle. So really easy to do here. We're just going to draw 2 lines back to the vanishing point and then horizontal lines for each break that happens between each one of those dashes. And then we'll just go back and erase the lines that we don't need anymore here. And of course, the shapes that you create here will progressively get smaller and closer together as it goes back into space. And lastly, we'll just add a bit of shading underneath the cube, the mysterious cube on the left side of the picture plane. Of course, you could add windows and doors here, a sign on the top to make it appear more like a building, but you get the idea. We've already done this on the other building. So just a little bit of shading here. So now you've had a look at how to draw with one-point perspective, and now you can apply it to your own drawings. If you enjoyed this video and you're ready to learn more about drawing and painting, why not check out our comprehensive membership program at thevirtualinstructor.com, which includes great video courses, weekly live instruction, downloadable ebooks, and even lesson plans for teachers. Just click on the button in the corner to learn more now. You can also get 3 free course modules from our program. 1 from the Secrets to Drawing, 1 from Pastel Landscape Mastery, and a 3rd from the Oil Painting Master Series. Each module includes a video and an ebook. To learn more about how you can get your free course modules, again, just click on the button in the corner. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please consider subscribing to the channel so you can get access to all of the new videos as we publish them. Thank you so much for watching, and I wish you the best of luck in your artistic journey.